So welcome from my side as well. And I will just try to moderate a bit the next sessions, but the main pressure will be on the colleagues. And to start with, I would like to ask our colleagues for a short report back on the different workshop sessions. Of course, we are slightly delayed, so if you can keep it short, just summarizing the key findings. And someone I know asked in the chat if we will share the presentations. All the presentations will be shared on the website. And of course, there will be also a meeting report if you want to find out more about what you're going to hear next. So maybe I would like to start with the first workshop on planning arrangement for rural development. And I guess it will be colleagues from Pantea who will provide the feedback on that.
Yeah, let me shortly then share my screen to kind of also let the people know that we're not in the meeting we had, is that we put triple access planning central to the workshop, and a bit difficult to summarize it, but this figure here you see on the left, I hope you can all see it well, is kind of what we explained during the first part of the workshop, is that rural accessibility is not only determined by the transportation system, but also by the land use system and the telecommunications system. So when you think of rural accessibility and planning arrangement, you don't only think of transportation solutions, but you think also of land use, so spatial planning measures, but also very importantly, digital solutions. So accessibility, it's all about access to jobs, people, and goods. So having a good internet connection, for example, can also very much help in that. But there's a whole presentation on this. It will be shared later via you. We will make this presentation available so you can learn a little bit more about triple access planning. So what we did in the workshop is to kind of put this tripartite model again on the screen and share best practices in the different three types, the three different pillars on how to improve rural accessibility. So as you can see, there was quite a lot of input on that. We have multiple sticky notes. I don't think we will have the time to go into detail, but again, in the workshop reports, we will zoom in and you will see the different sticky notes. And then please, we also will describe it a little bit more, but yeah, also reach out to some of your colleagues maybe that know more about certain solutions that also contain more about the land use system or the telecommunications system, because it built a little bit up on the presentation of Melanie, who showed quite a lot of good examples from the transportation system and transportation policies. And we in the workshop also thought of land use policies and telecommunication policies. So that's a bit in short, very short, what we discussed in the first workshop. And I will encourage you to read the workshop report so you can get a little bit to know more about what we have done.
Thanks a lot, Geert. Very prompt and short, concise summary. Okay, so we will of course share this layout, and you can explore in more details the examples listed there. So with that, I would like to pass on to colleagues from NET to tell a bit more about the synergies between tourism and mobility.
Yes. Okay, yeah, we talked about the cooperation between these two sectors, and after a short introduction from my side, we asked the participants to rate the actual status quo of cooperation within their regions, and we saw that it was almost, yes, in some kind of medium medium rating. It's yeah, 2.6 on a scale of from 1 to 5. So there's a lot of improvement possibilities. And then afterwards, we talked about specific aspects which traffic planners should consider if they want to develop a resilient mobility plan for rural areas. And as you can see here, a lot of things were mentioned. And yeah, we talked about different aspects and saw that tourists have different needs. They have different points of interest, and they want to move at different times of the day and different times of the year. And they might not know the language, and they have luggage or even dogs with them. And So you need to inform them, and you need to get their specific benefit or specific needs into account. Yes, all in all, we found out that yes, it's important to communicate with each other, that the two sectors have to define a common vision, a common targets, and to collect data was mentioned to be very important. And as I said, the specific needs of tourists, and to offer yes, sustainable mobility options, and to involve tourism stakeholders, because they often feel that transport planners don't involve them. They should make it easy to combine different modes of transport, to share data, and if possible, yes, to keep up the communication between the sectors all the time, to have an action plan with relevance for both sectors. And well, it was visible that the tourism people, yes, would like to have a better integration into the planning process. And I think we identified some important points to have this better in the future. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Bente. Very interesting. So with that, let's move on to the third workshop on the conditions for promoting new mobility solutions in rural areas, where I think colleagues from TIS will report back.
So I don't have a presentation, but it was a very analogical discussion. But we had a nice discussion about the specific mobility solutions implemented in rural areas across Europe. Specifically, we had the example of mobility solutions implemented in Slovenia, Spain, Scotland, and Greece, and Latvia. And we conclude that it is quite difficult to replicate good practices across Europe due to legal and regulatory constraints. For example, there is a strong difference between the regulation in Southern European countries regarding the acceptance of volunteer drivers, and in Central Europe and Northern Europe, where this is more common. There had been the recognition that professional and traditional mobility services do not cover all the needs of rural areas. And finally, Aphrodite came up with a reflection about the importance of the European projects to trigger the modification of the regulations, of the laws. And this was also an important aspect that we discussed. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Tiago. And finally, we'd like to hear a bit more about the fourth workshop on influencing rural sensitive policies at all the different levels, where I think my ex-colleagues will feedback. Is that right?
Yes, that's right, Edina. Thank you. I share my screen. We have a little, not presentation, but a warm-up of what we have discussed. First of all, our workshop started with two snappy presentations. One summarizing how SMARTA tried to influence rural mobility policies at the European level, and the other is dealing with the experience of in Northwestern Highland on how to influence policy and decision maker. So in these cases, we highlight that the importance of highlight to the politicians to fostering the rural mobility policy change and challenges. First of all, we have to have knowledge of the problem, and for this reason, after the individuation of the problem, there is awareness and knowledge on also possible solution, but to find it is necessary also to have clear in mind which are the actors that we want to involve in this process. So there is the other aspect of the engagement of different actors, agency in the territories, and we need to have clear the data that we have to gather to be able to create convincing cases for naturally setting up an agenda to trigger political decisions, so to convincing politicians of our solution and ideas. We have also identified other key aspects inside our workshop that although the policies for rural areas are focused only on the links between urban and rural areas and not they are not centered in the movement inside the rural areas. Also, another important aspect is to promote the concept of functional region and not of functional urban area, and the sustainable regional mobility plan. So we have to focus more on that. In addition, the politicians don't think so much on multimodal policy, so we have to think so much on it, to use the transport as a system, and also don't take together the challenges to bring door-to-door idea at national level, so they don't take into account the door-to-door scheme sometimes for the transport. And naturally, we need the coordination with all the 3 level, national, regionals, and local levels for this policy.